Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, dude?
That's a rad little studio you got going on there.
This is my little home studio.
I like it.
I wish I could pan you around here on my laptop, but I got there's some pro stuff in here. We could record a record in here outside of drums.
But, right on. Yeah, it looks great, man.
Damn, I was gonna answer with this though. How rad is this guy?
That's awesome.
I was about to start the interview, but
how'd you get that? What is that? Is that like a?
We do this is a character in our show. This is one of our mock-ups from it.
Oh, really?
But we have this is one of the final masks. This is the wolf character that'll be worn on stage. It's
rad,
dude. It's amazing,
dude. That is really cool. Nice. How you
got a studio set up yourself?
A little bit, yeah. I got a pretty decent mic and just like a cheap Focusrite and a little compressor. Nothing crazy though.
the new Focusrite, and then I use the Arrow, but I mean that's a level up from there. But the 80 converters, the preamps and stuff in those, I mean everybody in pop and hip hop's recording that into an SM7 now. It's cheap.
Oh wow, yeah, I know the SM. I almost bought the SM7 when I bought this mic. This is a CAD ES100 or E100S, which is
those are good.
They're good. Yeah, it's not a dynamic mic though, like the SM58 or SM70.
SM7. Yeah, SM7. This one's big. You're thinking the 57 is we use those all the time too.
Yeah, those are the handle, right? Yeah, like the hammer mic. You can like throw that thing off a building.
Shit, man. I broke a tooth on one of those once.
Did you really? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Tell me that story.
Mid-show, and you're like half toothless.
Oh my gosh.
There's nothing. Luckily, this is kind of funny, but when I was a kid, I had massive buck teeth, so I could grab like down here. I mean, it was not good. It was a rough childhood, but when I chipped my right tooth, I took a chunk out of it. My teeth were still so big that they just filed them down, and I was.
There you go. Right.
It was slowly like some form of evolution was happening.
That's awesome.
Turned into a normal human eventually.
Well, tell me about where you grew up, Jared. You grew up in Alaska, right?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
I didn't know that I was in an isolated, separate country that really acts like an island.
Sure.
Until I got out, honestly. So I was born and raised there. We had mass amounts of woods right behind our house. So I grew up in the snow. It makes me sound like I'm 70 that I walk back and forth in the snow to school. But I mean, that was life.
Yeah.
It was very, very different. I still go up there every couple months to stay just connected with the culture because it is, I don't know, it's different than anything I've ever experienced outside of Alaska. So
sure. Tell me about was it weird? Because certain parts of the year, right? Isn't it just like dark all the time and then vice versa, night or daylight all the time?
If I wasn't doing music, I mean, you can't, it's really tricky to live in Alaska and play music for obvious reasons. We stayed as long as we could, but it's just tough because you're so detached. Even to fly out for a fly date costs the band, $10,000 off top.
Right.
It's just not feasible. So, but even if I wasn't doing music, going back to Alaska and surviving through a winter would be tough for me because it's the 24/7 darkness it hits some people harder. And maybe I'm just a pansy, but yeah, man, it fucks with my mental state.
Yeah, seems like it would be pretty depressing if it's dark all the time.
During those times, we're in the top 5 usually per capita in suicide, depression, alcoholism, because humans aren't meant to be without light for that long, and it's hard though because the snow is so gorgeous and outside activities you can do there. You can't do anywhere else.
Yeah. What part of Alaska were you in? Or did you grow up in?
I grew up in Wasilla, which the split time between Kenai and Wasilla, but the Palins made Wasilla famous.
Okay.
That's how everybody knows where it's at on the map. But my grandpa, in the first place I was in, he was the first mayor in Alaska. People don't
Really?
realize Alaska is only a state in 59. So Kenai, where I grew up, till I was in first grade. Yeah, he was there, and we built the first grocery store and gas station. Like,
Really?
it was Wild West growing up, man. I mean, you had your house by wood stove for 15 years, and yeah.
Wow.
So now I just went the opposite way, culture, and I look the least Alaskan of any man on planet now. I get shit for it all the time.
So when you were growing up in Alaska, were there venues and stuff that bands would perform at? Like, how did you catch music?
Local scene in Alaska is way better than you'd expect. I would say it's rivals almost any place I've been in the U.S. because
really,
yeah, especially for rock. There's good metal, there's good rock, great blues. It's just we're our own little ecosystem up there, but people love music, and they don't take it for granted up there yet, which you do in some markets.
Sure.
Which is sad. So people, man, there's so many good venues, actually. Some smaller ones, a few bigger ones, but there's a couple great, really, really like just local, true Alaskan rock clubs that will go and play, and still to this day. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So growing up, how'd you get into music originally?
I sang in choir my whole life.
Oh, really?
And and then I picked up a guitar, I think on my 15th birthday. And I've been writing songs without music, but as soon as I grabbed a guitar, I went, oh my goodness, I can put all this together. And wrote a song that day, and probably have written a song close to every other day since, would be my guess. Something like that.
So you got into choir. What drew you to choir? You were just a good singer as a kid, or you just
I don't know. I don't know that I made any of my own decisions until I was older.
Right. Your parents are just like, you're going to be in a choir.
You're in Alaska, so you do every activity possible. So I did every sport. I did choir. I did any after school things. Like, that was your existence. That's how you kept yourself busy. So choir, I loved singing as a kid, but I just jumped in and sang my bucktooth tail off and kept rolling, man.
Yeah. You said you were writing songs before you even got the guitar when you were 15 years old. What was the first, like, did you just have melodies in your head? Tell me about that early stuff.
Yeah. Some of the bands I that my older brother and sister were listening to, R&B groups like Boyz II Men. Let's just start with them. Everybody knows them, but some niche bands too. So, but I grew up kind of on R&B and maybe even a little blues initially. And a lot of that's a cappella. And I have 3 other brothers and a sister, and they can all sing too. And
wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, we kind of, music was just part of it growing up. So we'd sing together and sing a cappella stuff and sing with the radio and all that fun stuff.
Wow. Were your parents musical? Like,
yeah.
I mean, they're all musicians?
I didn't really realize that I came from such a musical family until I got a little older, and it's both sides. I mean, my whole family, we just did a big Zoom call with my dad's side of the family, and like half the people on the call, because I was going through counting them, I'm like, God, half of them can play and should be professional musicians of some sort. I mean, it's just, it's in our family. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that is awesome.
People actually just broke out in song while we were on there, and we did some vulgar karaoke, and it was good. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So 15, you got your first guitar. How did you just pick it up and started trying to learn it yourself? How did you learn?
Yeah, my dad taught me actually a few chords. Okay. He knew. So he taught me a few chords. He taught me D, C, and G, and that's where that was home base for me for a year or so before. I didn't have a guitar teacher, anything like that growing up in Alaska, so I just started learning it. And then it's kind of funny. It was just classic rock band story. Got together with guys in high school, started a band, started actually learning how to play our instruments and put songs together, and started building from there.
Is that what is now Static Cycle, or was that a band early on just with friends?
That was a band. It went for a while, but it was only local in Alaska. And those guys are still, one of them actually hopefully will come out and drum. He was a drummer, but no, we just grew up, went to college. I started another band in college. Then Static Cycle, I started after. So that's the band. But
did you go to college in Alaska also?
Yeah, I went to University of Arizona for 1 year, but this was the guitar. This is a Fender Strat that my parents bought me when I graduated high school.
Wow.
This is my first guitar I ever actually was mine. And that was the old band's logo. So I still rock it on there to this day.
That's cool. Do you still play that guitar on stage and stuff?
I do occasionally.
Wow.
We just it's not announced yet, but they wouldn't care. We just signed with Music Man, Ernie Ball.
Oh wow.
And they have spectacular guitars.
Yeah, I remember back years ago going to and seeing Warped Tour and stuff. A lot of those guys would play Ernie Ball guitars.
Oh, dude, their basses have been legendary forever, but they have really, really great guitars. So we're gonna play those, and we're so happy actually because they were our first choice. So
oh wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
We'll have some other guitars that we'll have to play. Like we can't do exclusive with them because of all the random stuff we do, but we might eventually. We can figure out. They've got a great lineup of guitars.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have your guitar right there. That's really cool to see.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm not good or in a band or anything like that. But the first guitar I ever got was a Fender Strat, just like that. It was pretty much the same color, but mine was the Squire, like the cheap version.
I had one of those too. Yeah.
The dirt, it came with like an amp and a bag and everything for like less than $100.
Oh, completely, man. That I had a Squire before I had that, but it was given to me by someone. Okay. And that was my guitar for a while.
Nice.
Yeah. Those are pretty shitty. I mean,
they're awful.
They
you get what you pay for, I guess.
Yeah, but now it's crazy. All the tech and stuff, everything's evolved so much in guitar world that a lot of us in the industry now believe a lot of the lower end guitars sound just as good and sometimes better than the higher end ones.
Really?
There's still some really, really good high end niche brands that you can't go wrong with, like Music Man, honestly, because it's a different level of craftsmanship there. Mm-hmm. But even a lot of the Epiphone stuff that Gibson's been doing, that stuff sounds spectacular. Like if I'm starting a guitar, or if I ever have babies, those are, I'm giving them something like that. They don't need anything expensive.
Yeah, $1,500 Gibson.
No.
That's funny.
I'm gonna send them back to Alaska. They can grow up in the woods, and then they'll appreciate stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting now because I've noticed, like at live shows and stuff, 10 years ago, bands would have to roll out like half stacks with the head, like the guitar heads and everything. And a lot of bands are playing just out of little combo amps now.
Dude, it's changed. So I'll show you. It's changed and evolved even more. So this is one thing right here. This is called a Kemper.
Okay.
This is in almost every guitar rig on the planet now. And it emulates different amps, mic placements, all that stuff. You can build in your effects into there. So it sounds so spectacular. A few very, very big rock bands that are at and are continuously at the top of the charts that you would know have recorded their entire records on this. And we're talking like top metal bands, top guitar. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Whoa. So you don't even need to lug all that stuff around anymore. Like the big amps and
you
stuff.
Don't. For most stuff you don't. It doesn't make any sense because this can do it. It sounds as good. It's more versatile. It's hard for us though, because we still want to bring a cab so we can feel it on stage.
Sure, yeah.
So that's a little bit of the purist in us, but everyone's got that in their rig. Honestly, I'm going to send them this clip and they better give me like 2 or 3 free ones because I just push that shit hard.
You should. I'll send you that clip just so you can get that sponsorship.
Those things are not cheap. Yeah, that's what we need.
Right on. So Jared, tell me about so you were in that band and you went to college, and what happened from there? You said you did one semester in Arizona State.
University of Arizona. And I had a band there, and I like college was odd for me because I almost took I was a smart kid. I was a very nerdy smart kid, but I almost went on, and I came from very, very poor in Alaska. So I thought, oh, I've got this full ride to UNC, North Carolina. I know UNC means different things, different parts, but, and I wasn't going to be able to explore music like I could if I didn't have this 4 years was mapped out everything for me. So I chose University of Arizona, and I eventually went back to Alaska because that's where the guys were. And Alaska has a great college up there too. And so I played music all through. And then as soon as I was done with college, basically we, started doing this and jumped on the road. And, I started a record label through it. We're still independent. We may have to sign with somebody soon, but we've done it all ourselves. And we've tried to, because we're doing some crazy stuff I'll tell you about in a bit, that we have to find the right label that believes in the insanity that we're trying to build. Because it's different. It's very different. Not a lot of labels understand what we're trying to do yet. So,
okay. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. That's awesome. Well,
it means we're really dumb or we're innovative. We'll find out.
So you moved back to Alaska and you started which currently is Static Cycle when you moved back. So that started in when you moved back home to Alaska.
Yep.
And you were doing shows and just touring around Alaska, or where were you guys playing?
We were touring. We went out and played with basically everybody in rock. We had a song that did really, really well on radio. And we went out and toured, and we stopped.
Was that Inside This World of Mine? Is that the one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we stopped. There was actually a bad time in rock. I'm not sure if you were doing anything, but we're super young, but we're trying to make it. We have a song on radio. About a third of the hard rock stations at that time changed formats. Or just closed up shop entirely. And a lot of our really good buddies that were in great bands at the time hung up their cleats too. It was just a bad time in rock, especially. So rock started to make a resurgence, but we stopped then, and we started working on this new live show, which I'll tell you about eventually. That's all we just stopped, and we've been working on this and the new record, and we came out with this whole new experience. So we got rid of the old record. This is like, we're basically a new band now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So because you put out, well, the second record you put out was the one that had the big song for radio, right? Or was that the very first record you did?
Well, the first record actually had a song that did really well on radio, and we made the next one really soon after. And Inside This World, mine was going on radio when stuff happened, and we stopped. Yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, tell me about the first record and putting that together. Was that done in Alaska?
Part of it was done in Alaska. Most of it was done at this place called Sonic Ranch in Texas. It's right on the border in Mexico. 500-acre pecan ranch. It's the weirdest, craziest studio I've ever been to. We were there for like 4.5 weeks.
How'd you guys get connected? Like, what sent you down to Texas?
They've done a bunch of really, really great records there. While we were there, Taking Back Sunday was there. There was like 4 or 5 bands like that. I don't remember. They were there while we were there. They have great facilities. It's just a weird place because everybody goes and lives on site. So you just you're a bit isolated. It's kind of what we're going through right now with quarantine. Like at that time, it's just you go a little nuts. But we recorded that record so different than how we did this last one because that was a lot of it was analog and it took 10 times as long to track and do all that stuff. But yeah, it was good. We stripped that because it doesn't fit with what we're doing now, but all of our old fans have it. And we have it up on SoundCloud and stuff so people can still listen to it. But
sure. And then you put out Part 1 Hydrate. And that and that was, where was that recorded at?
That one is the one that was recorded in Sonic Ranch. Sorry. The first one was recorded in Cleveland. Why did we go to Cleveland? The producer was in Cleveland. Great producer, Mike Brown. He's done a bunch of cool rock bands too. We were only there for probably 3 weeks for that one or something.
How'd you guys like for example, the Texas recording studio and even the one in Cleveland, like if you were up in Alaska, like how did you just try to contact people? Like how are you making these connections?
Okay. I get you. So when we started, we thought we had great music. Whether we were naive or not probably helped, actually. We were a bit naive, but we do well in Alaska. And I am a bit relentless. I actually started the label when I was 19. I started flying around and basically pestering anybody and everybody I could. So through a friend, through a connection, I found Doc McGee, who's broken Bon Jovi and manages Kiss and countless. He's probably one of the most successful rock managers of all time. Great guy.
Okay.
So I basically pestered him. I found out how he had signed bands in the past, and I, wrote a blank check. A band named Sugar Ray. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
So they had written a check to him for $1 million and said, "This will be yours if you manage us."
Wow.
And I believe it was a fake check, but that was a thing. So I recreated that, stuck it under a thing. I made him videos. I'd pester him and send him. And eventually there's probably 10 or 20 people that I did that to. And eventually my persistence paid off and started to build a network of people. And man, honestly, it was just old school hustling. It was just calling, pestering, showing up at people's offices and, being dumb enough not to take no for an answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's all it was. I knew I wanted to play music. When I first started off, though, it was funny. I would go in and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to be the biggest star of rock and roll." Like that was what I thought. That was my opening line back then.
Oh, that's funny. Well, MTV, I saw that MTV called you the greatest young frontman in rock. That's pretty cool.
Right when we launched, man, we were doing so well, and we haven't been able to play and show the world anything. And it's been for I don't know, 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been. And we're excited to get back into it because now rock has more young bands like us.
Oh yeah,
the scene is coming alive, the culture is alive. Like we're ready.
That's awesome.
Fuck COVID. That just killed it. Like we're about to tour for the first time in like 5 years, and then that. But
oh wow, really? So wait,
everything's done. The record's done. We have we almost have 2 records done. The whole show has been built. Everything, dude. Like
and now you have to like sit on your hands and wait, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but you said it was 5 years between what the second album you put out and then the one that the newest one that will be coming out?
Yeah, the new one doesn't come out until the fall, but we're releasing we've released 3 singles. We're releasing one every like 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay.
So there's another one coming
Wolf,
out May 22nd.
Which is
you have?
Incredible, yeah.
Oh,
and the acoustic version of the song, like, whoa. Or the girls playing like violin and stuff on it.
Yep.
Or cello, I think it might be, but
both.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you. We actually, I'm going to just say it's from like the R&B and jazz soul background, whatever. My voice might even work better on that. I just love hard rock so much. So like the number of producers that have been like, "Hey man, you should release a Sam Smith record or blah, blah, blah." And I'm just like, "Oh God, no." I just can't do it. But my voice, like I sadly, with how much I love rock, I probably have a prettier voice naturally. So people love the acoustic stuff. which is good. And I'm glad we do it. I love it too. It's a different side of music, but yeah.
I feel like that's how you know if a song's good. It's if you could play it acoustic and it's still, rad.
That's yep. That is an industry go-to. If you can't strip it down and play it that way, you probably don't have a good song.
Probably not a hit. Yeah. That's
no.
But yeah, hearing that the acoustic version, I heard that one first, then I went back and listened to the recorded version. It's so different, like because of the heavy guitars and everything in it. I'm like,
so how was it listening to that one first? Because I don't think a lot of people get that experience of hearing.
It was great. It was cool. Like, but I just had a different mindset of what I thought the band's sound would be when I went back to listen to the recorded version. You know what I mean? Which I like both of them, and I started diving into your earlier record and listening to that. And I did remember hearing Inside This World of Mine on the radio back in the day too. So I was like, cool. Oh, okay. I know exactly the sound now. I remember, but it was like kind of a 3-step back thing. I'm like, this is dope. Like acoustic song. And then I'm like, oh, it's like a heavier transition. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that song back then.
You fell down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I totally did, which was great though.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say on those, when I was in Alaska a month ago or something, right when all the COVID stuff started to hit, I couldn't get back to our guys, and we had a live stream that we had to do. So I had a keyboard player come in, and she hadn't heard of the band, and she'd only heard those soft acoustic songs. And it's funny because I was probably dressed like rock, whatever, but she just thought I was just a soft-spoken like singer-songwriter guy, and I was like,
sure,
that's all. And she sat down, and I didn't know until after we'd played and stuff, and we were listening to something else, and she was like, well, wait. I was like, wait, damn it. You rock, I promise.
Yeah. I want to go back real quick to like the first tour you guys did. Like, were you being in Alaska? I've never been to Alaska. I would love to go. It looks gorgeous. But the thing with it is it's way up past, you got to go through all of Canada the upper corner. Yeah. Like when it comes to touring for your band, like, especially when you're starting out there, like where did you have to go out to Canada? Like, did you fly into the States and then start from there? Like, how does that work out for you?
It's nuts because the first time we took the drive, we had a good friend that basically gave us his RV and let us wrap it and build bunks in the back.
Wow.
He was too gracious. I probably owe him my life. He just really believed in the band. But we got in that thing and we drove it in the middle of winter, 4,400 miles. It was at least 4,000. Down just to get to Canada takes 8-9 hours. I can't remember it, but it's just to get to the border there, right? I mean, then you go down the Alcan, which is not through big city Canada. It's through, bush, rough roads Canada.
Right, yeah, like the outskirts.
Yeah. I mean, these are the ice road truckers roads. Like, they're rough. We almost died like 4 or 5 times, but
oh my God.
We took shifts. We just had to drive straight down, and we drove it in 4 days. I mean, it was nuts.
And that's just straight, driving straight the whole time.
Yep. We just rotated, and once we got down there, then we just lived out of that bus, really out of that. It was like it was a toy hauler. It was very, very awesome. But we just rode around on that city to city. Wow. If we had to go back to Alaska, we had to pay. Yeah, and then it's $10,000 to get there and back, and with your gear and stuff. It's nuts. It was tough.
Just to drive it, or to
no to fly.
To like fly everything.
You got yourself, you got crew, and you got all your gear with you. That it's
wow.
It was money. But.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. So I mean, that's cool. That must have been terrifying to drive that ice trucker shift in a van you might not know very well, and you taking that long drive. I couldn't imagine.
It was scary. I wasn't allowed to drive. I'm a terrible driver, so I may have killed us. I drove one time on tour and it was not good. Everybody like screamed and got me from behind.
Pulls you out of the seat.
It's not good, but yeah, it was terrifying. It was. I woke up multiple times where we'd be like going off, one of the cliffs, and
yeah, wow,
traumatizing.
So, yeah, that's crazy. Wow. So I want to talk about, your second, the new record coming out, you said is your guys' third album, right?
Yeah, we're really calling it our first now because we've pulled the other ones from digital distribution, because this new everything around the show. I got to talk about the show.
Yeah,
soon,
so I want to talk. Yeah,
sense.
so I want to set it up. So
okay.
So after the second record came out, and then there's been a 5-year gap, you said.
Yeah.
Did you guys just go on hiatus, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went and started building this show and the new record. But this took a long time for.
Okay. So you started building the show and the new record, and you were doing this. Are you still in Alaska, or
in Nashville?
Now? Okay. So you moved. Did you move to Nashville?
Yep.
Okay.
Moved to the songwriting capital of the world.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so now you're in Nashville, and then you started putting this together.
Yeah. So once we got to Nashville, Nashville did a couple things. Like I'd always written, almost everything myself. So Nashville, I started writing with a few other writers to understand their craft and process, made me a better writer. The game here is stronger, so it made me a better player, singer, writer, all of it. Mm-hmm. I started working with a couple different producers here, all kinds of stuff. And then while I'm here living, I had been trying to solve this question that I've been asking myself since we started touring. And that is, what does the next evolution of experiencing live rock music look like? Mm-hmm. And it'd been driving me nuts because I had felt we're out with big bands and, I'm not going to call anybody out, but there's plenty of big bands that just get on stage with their guitars and play. They've got one video screen behind them, and that's the extent of the show.
Right. Yeah.
And I think for certain bands, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Our buddies in 3 Days Grace, for instance, those guys have more number one hits in rock than anyone now.
Right.
They can get on stage, they can sing their songs. We're going to sing along. It's going to be a badass concert.
Right. Yeah, you'll know every song or most of them, and it's like going to see The Offspring. It's like they don't really need to do much, but you could not even listen to them and know half the set.
Completely. And I think as music has become more and more niche, I think some of that's been lost. Right? I don't think America has 10 songs that we all know right now. They don't exist. So. Right. It's worse when you get into more niche like hard rock. Mm-hmm. So I also thought tech and production and stuff has now given us such a leg up on what we can bring to the audience. So I didn't know what it looked like, but we started, myself and one of my friends helped me on the creative side with this, started charting out what we thought it would look like as a fan, what I would want to go see, what I'd want to experience as a rock fan, whether it was us pulling the show off or not. And we have built this crazy hybrid between, I researched so many Cirque shows, so many Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And we have come up with this hybrid that is part Cirque du Soleil, part Broadway, and part hard rock. And it's super immersive. There's crazy characters like you were seeing.
Yeah.
There's wild production, but there's also, like, we're doing crazy stuff. We're pumping scent into the venues. We're dropping snow on people's heads. It's going to be amazing. And I have a preview I can send you so you can see it. It's not public yet, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
But we were working on it for so long with so many great people, and it's ready. So like we're amped for people to experience it. We got to figure out how to communicate it to people, what it is, because it is truly different. There's been this uprising in immersive shows. There's something in New York called Sleep No More. that's been around for maybe a year and a half, 2 years now. That takes you through the story of Macbeth in an interactive way.
Wow.
You're actually experiencing it with the actors around you. You're part of the scene. So you're seeing all these like creative cultural movements in live experiences, and we're pulling some from all of those.
That's awesome.
And bringing them into music, because no one's doing it in music right now. It drives me nuts. And so,
especially not original bands and original. I mean, if you're talking Cirque du Soleil, there's whatever Vegas ones or Love or whatever. But for a band to create something around their own music, like that's really, really cool, and no one's doing it. Tell me about the Cirque.
It's so hard, but yeah.
Well, so what can we expect as far as like when you say Cirque du Soleil and characters, like, do you have like hired actors and like dancers and stuff that you're going to bring along with the show?
It's a combo of all that. It's less. Cirque du Soleil is more so about
like the acrobatics.
I would say stylistically, some of the acrobatics are there, but not quite as much. Like we've got a guy who spits fire, and we battle a little and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So there's some of that. When I say Cirque du Soleil, it's just a good kind of earmark for people. But I would say you pull in some pieces of those, and then it has a beautiful and thrilling and dark storyline throughout.
Wow.
So there are full characters throughout. Okay. So there are a few actors and actresses. The music is sometimes the soundtrack. Sometimes it's not in the forefront. We're trying to really push and pull properly on that, figure out, when it has its place and how for people to engage and interact with the band. We've got some very unique things we're doing there, but I'd say it's that little Cirque, little hard rock. And then you've got a good Broadway storyline and moments. And
is the storyline, like congruent with the record? Like, is the album a concept album and it's kind of telling the story of the album?
It's part of it is. So the last single we released, which is called Wolf, the one of the main characters in there is the wolf, and the wolf represents necessary evil. People might see it as good. There's a good character versus a bad character, but they'll understand there's a lot more depth. He represents necessary evil. So the wolf can actually possess people throughout too. So I become the wolf at some point. So part of the record, like the song The Wolf, obviously ties in, discusses his personality. He actually kind of outlines a scene. It's predatory. He's chasing this girl. You're not sure if it's love or it's going to turn into violence. So there are songs throughout. I'd say it's almost like half and half, where they purposefully have a place, and then the other songs serve as moments. It's not a linear concept album or anything like that. The other ones serve, the other ones serve as moments around events, and then a couple songs were written for various reasons too. I had a good friend that his son passed away, and he asked me to write a song for him, and I had written that, didn't think it was going to be on the record or anything. That ended up being the ballad on the record. So that one wasn't written for the show, but it has a beautiful moment in the show. So little both.
Wow. And then so this show and this new record and everything, like you said, you're going to ditch all the old stuff. So if somebody comes and sees you guys, it's like, here's all of our new stuff and here's our new show. Is that what people are going to see?
Yep.
Rad. That's really cool.
Because it's, man, like we even have, I don't have any here. Our characters have cards and full backstories behind them that the music parlays into, and our music videos are these really different. Everything's made out of paper in the music videos, and it's a very abstract, but it's doing a bunch of character development for the show. So it's all this one cohesive beast that it'll make more sense as we go on, because it's hard because we're 3 songs deep and we can't show people the preview of the live show yet. Like it's not all going to make sense yet, but yeah.
That sounds really exciting. That's really exciting.
Thanks, man.
Well, the video for Wolf wasn't in the video. You guys are like in a like, aren't you like inside like a volcano or something, or like or am I thinking of a different video?
I think you're thinking of a different one. Wolf is like a 80s anime. Everything's made out of paper.
Oh yeah, okay. I know which one. I think I'm thinking of something else then. I did read though that you have a pet wolf. Is that, or was that just BS?
No. When I was growing up in Alaska, we had a pet wolf. Yeah.
Whoa.
And it was chained up to the front yard. I'm not gonna say it was a pet because it just murdered shit, but you know,
you weren't walking it and like
I didn't know what a pet was, to be completely honest with you, growing up in Alaska, because we had dogs that were outside that were, you know, you don't have a pet wolf to, I mean, I don't need to spell it out why we had a pet wolf, but
right. You know, okay. Yeah. The way I read it as, I'm like, wait, what? Then I was thinking maybe he was just kidding because he's like, yeah, I'm from Alaska. Of course, yeah, I have a pet wolf. So that's the story.
No, after I don't remember where I said that, but after I said it, somebody else had asked me about it too, and I was like, wow, people think I'm joking. Maybe I should be clear about it, or maybe
that's funny.
It's illegal now, so.
Oh, it is. Okay. Well, I want to hear about your labels. You started that label, like, for the first record, right? Weren't you just putting out stuff yourself?
Before, we actually had a couple other, myself and my business partner at the time, Joe Saunders, we built this label in Alaska, and we had other Alaska bands we were working with and trying to push. And that was while I was still finding what kind of music I wanted to do and all that stuff. And then, then we produced and signed Static Cycle to that label. And I shut it down though when we stopped touring last time, and don't have any artists or anything like that. We're independent now. It's not under our label. It's just under Static Cycle, and it's only solely for us right now. So I genuinely don't have time for other artists. I wish I could help other artists right now.
Yeah.
Eventually one day, but right now it takes so much work to do all the other stuff outside of music for yourself as an artist. I mean, it just takes so much time.
I was going to say, like, that must have been, I mean, you guys must have really been hustling if you didn't have a label and you're touring with all these huge bands and putting 2 albums out and, I mean, doing what you're doing now.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. Yeah.
Was that all done through management, or you guys just cold calling and getting connections? And
mostly us hustling. And then we found good management, and they would help with some. Every artist knows you got to work as hard or harder than your manager too. And we always tried to outwork them as best we could. And a couple we fired along the way because we way outworked them. So, but at one time we had, a radio team, publicity team, marketing team, all that. And I was running it all as a,
wow,
dumb 20-year-old kid. And,
I mean, that's incredible. That's really amazing to be able to do that and keep a successful band and have all those moving pieces without, like,
it was, you can't have relationships, honestly, while it's happening. Like, music and business was my existence. I mean, that was all there was to it. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do anything else. Luckily, I love music and love the business of music so much that I'm good with just doing that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had to wait until later in life to find women.
you're in a relationship with your band and the music scene basically, and business scene and all that stuff.
Yep.
First. Right.
Ain't got no time.
Well, Jared, tell me about so what do you guys, besides from the show, obviously that's the new big push, the new big thing.
Yep.
You guys are going to release, you're talking about releasing singles, and is that still the plan? Just putting out singles?
Yeah, we're not going to stop the timeline. We decided that pretty early on, that we're still going to just put out the music, get momentum going for the record. If we can't play any shows by the time the record comes out in the fall, we might have to push the record back, but I don't see that happening. I think we'd end up releasing it anyways. That's my gut, but I don't know. But we've got a single called Power coming out on May 22nd.
Oh, cool.
That was coming out soon, yeah. And a new video, and that'll be part
there's
4
a video
of the
and
video.
stuff.
Yep.
And then you have like isn't there like a concept, like a 6 video? You're doing like a what did I see?
Oh yeah, the video series.
Yeah, the video series. I wanted to ask you about that.
So those are all. Each single we're releasing has one of those animated videos made entirely by hand out of paper. It's incredible.
Okay, so that's what the first one did it. Okay, or the wolf when you're talking about the paper. Okay,
correct.
So you have a guy or person constructing paper to make the video.
He's so great. His basement's like, I don't know, maybe the size of the studio or something like that, and he he just sits down there. For Wolf, he built an entire little city that you see out of paper.
That's so
it's amazing. So he's got 6 of them. We're finishing the 5th right now, and that one doesn't come out for a couple months. But the 4th one, Power's already done. It's badass. He did a great job. So
how'd you find this guy? Like, and
our manager. This guy's a hustler. Stefano is a hustler. He had been hitting our manager up, who manages some artists way bigger than we are, and he'd been saying like, "Hey, you need video work, and he never had anything that fit this weird style, you know." And so eventually, we were talking about my vision for this. He's like, "I got a guy you should talk with. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but talk with him." And him and I butt heads artistically right off the bat. And I think his work's amazing, but I'm like, we're not communicating well. He's basically telling me like, F you, you're demanding too much. I'm not going to do it. So we ended up having to get a translator in place. And eventually we became good friends through it because we started to understand each other a little more.
Okay.
Because he speaks broken English and I speak 5 words of Italian, so it didn't go well. But anyways, now Stefano's the man. We built these amazing videos, and it's doing all the character development, a live show. Everything's tied in together. You see the wolf throughout. You see another character called the light box, which represents naivety and pureness. Really, symbolizes the good throughout the show. She's in the videos, and a paper model of me is in the video. It's he's good, man. He's really good.
Do you know how long it takes him to build that, like those paper cities?
He told me we got some behind the scenes because we want to share with people how it's being done. So we asked him to give us some behind the scenes photos and videos and stuff like that. And man, like I tried to estimate it, and it's in the tens of hours. That's all I've got. That's all I know. Jeez. I mean, he's spending. It could be hundreds, but like it's in the tens. I think now he's gotten a system down well enough because he's starting to do it for some other artists as well.
Oh, okay.
At a higher volume. I think he's got a system down now that's cruising a little more, but yeah.
That's cool. I've never seen another band do that before. That's awesome. And I love the concept behind this whole record and the live show and everything. I think people are going to be super stoked on that.
Yeah, literally our goal, which stuff like this is amazing. Our goal is to figure out how to communicate that to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we have to figure out because it's a lot to try and regurgitate through quick social media posts,
right?
Through an email blast. Like I've almost had to sit down with everyone so far and have this type of conversation before they go, okay,
yeah,
now I get it. I thought you were just on LSD. No, it can be both.
Yeah. So you've got the show and everything planned out. Like you were talking about, you might have to have a label or something for because of the how massive this is, or you're ready to go regardless.
We're ready to go with or without. No, we're ready to go. Rock radio. You really need label. How to market it, a label would help. I'm so close to it. Our team's so close to it, even though we're trying to pull in outside, people that get it. It's really hard to know what to communicate. I take for granted that I know the storyline perfectly. I know how everything ties in together perfectly.
Yeah.
So,
well, you wrote it.
yeah. Right. So, yeah, I don't know what gaps I need to fill in, but it's gonna get so big for us too that we can't handle it. So we need a partner.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, what it looks like yet. The Right label was amazing because they, live and breathe music like we do. Could be a promoter that buys into it, loves what we're doing. Well, yeah, we just got to see.
That's great.
But we're ready for it.
Well, thanks so much for sharing all this with me, Jared. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait to see it. Are you guys? This seems like it's going to be like an arena show. Like, what are you guys thinking as far as are you gonna jump? Are you gonna bring another band on the road with you, or are you just gonna do it yourself? What are you guys thinking?
This has been, you're hitting on. First of all, you ask great questions, and I mean that sincerely.
I appreciate that.
Like you do.
Thank you.
Not everybody does homework, but not everybody's intelligent enough to even ask good questions. So,
well, thank you. That means a lot. It really does.
But that has been the biggest hurdle for us right now. So I've been able to spend this time with you, and you kind of understand what we're doing a little more.
Mm-hmm.
After I show you the live preview, you'll understand it even more. But imagine you have a Broadway world that's used to promoting, building shows a certain way, sending them out into the masses a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Music is solely based on the musician, the artist, but almost primarily it's just the popularity of their music, how it translates into ticket sales, right?
Yeah, the draw or whatever they have.
Yeah, so we're having constant conversations around how do we sell this show to the world in a way that makes sense. And the industries are very different. There's some overlap, but I think people I think they underestimate how different promoters, venues. I mean, it's different world. So we're trying to find creative ways to both be in the theater space, because some of this needs to be in large theaters or arena style stuff. How to do that simultaneously, and then not only rely on people that know our music, because we're not big enough. We can't sell arenas. Not yet. Maybe when people see the show, when they hear more of the music, maybe.
Yeah.
But we can't do that. So where can this show live?
Right.
And we can't open up for bigger bands because they would hate us. Because we're going to come out with this crazy thing, and they're going to get on stage and play, and they're going to kick us off day 2. They're going to say, fuck off.
Stuff overshadowing us.
I mean, really, I would. You got to protect your, so we're trying to figure it out, because the typical model is go on, play with some bigger bands, get exposed to their audience, build. When you get big enough, go and do your own venues. So it's a little chicken and the egg, which is why a label could help. They could help push the music in better ways, and they'll know creative ways on how to launch the show. And but yeah, man, we're trying to figure it out. We're having constant conversations with people who run Cirque and people who run, magic shows in Vegas, and all kinds of stuff, to understand where the overlap is and how we can communicate. Yeah.
There's definitely a crowd for it. I mean, there's touring Cirque Du Soleils and big Broadway type shows that, tour around the country all the time. So this is tying into things together, which is going to be amazing.
Nobody will have ever. I mean, you know what the experience of a hard rock show is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine going through that emotional hard rock experience while you're watching a Cirque Du Soleil show. Like, it's just never been done. I don't think it's ever been done, right? It's just, so if we can do it and communicate to people what it is, I think people will show. But
I think people will show, even if they haven't heard your band before, they're just going to go, wow, this seems like it's going to be rad.
The ultimate litmus test for us was if we could show it to people, which we have done, that don't and have never seen the music or heard the music, Mm-hmm. And if we ourselves also thought, hey, this would be a show we'd attend, but we showed it to people. We did a little, focus group on it, more or less. And everyone was into it with the preview. So we think we're there. We hope, but
or
it flops.
Sounds like it. I hope so.
Fuck.
And I hope you bring it to San Diego.
Man, is that where you're at?
Yeah, we're in San Diego.
Okay. I don't know why I thought you guys
I'll drive to LA.
Yeah, you'll risk it. You'll go to
LA. I'll risk it.
San Diego's a better chance than LA, probably. Well, unless we do it as a residency somewhere, which is also an option. Then we could do dope. It would, man. LA, we've been trying to talk with some people in Nashville. We just need the right person that understands it, that's willing to build with us. If we set it up, Field of Dreams, we build this thing, people will come. But we might need a couple weekends first where we're giving away more tickets or something, Yeah. We don't know.
Well, we're excited, man. I can't wait.
Thanks. So
hopefully when this COVID thing blows over, you guys will be able to get out on the road sooner than later.
If not, we'll do a demo of it inside your room there in San Diego.
You're invited. Bring the whole band.
20 people. Yeah.
Do it. Do it. Right on, Jared. Well, thanks again so much for chatting with me. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh, man. We could do a whole nother 30, 45 minutes. I'm serious.
I got time.
I've been on panels. I have plenty of advice. So I think the first few things are you'll hear people in the industry say your songs have to be right first. No one will touch you or listen to you without songs. There's some cases in pop and some in country where they'll grab you and build some songs around you. But I hate that shit anyway. So I'm talking to true artists. They're my only audience. If you're writing, really, really work on your craft. And the best songwriters in the world are in Nashville. It's not even close. There's some wonderful ones in LA and scattered throughout, but the best songwriters are here. But really, really learn your craft first. And that's not to make it marketable. That's just important to learn the fundamentals, the ABCs of it. If you don't have that, you can have all the talent in the world, but you're going to be a terrible basketball player. So that's the first thing I would say. The second is find someone close to you, very close to you. At farthest, they should be a very good friend, but somebody that understands business much, much better than you. Somebody that has a successful past in business, because you need an advisor that's on your shoulder that you can call, that isn't your manager, that isn't, your publicist early on, that isn't the label, that can give you sound advice. Because there are so many business principles that I had to learn the hard way that overlap. Mm-hmm. Every business has, so if your father, if your uncle, if a friend runs ABC company, or they have the expertise, just ask them if you can bite their ear, not sexually. Just bite their ear anytime you need some advice, and run things by them, because there are so many wonderful people in music, and then there are enough snakes to kill every good aspiring artist. And I hate the fucking snakes. And if I encounter them, I try and do everything I can to let all my artist friends know that's the case, because there are some that'll just take money and take money from up and coming artists. And I've just seen it too many times. So that's 1 and 2. The rest of the stuff, trust your gut, you'll figure it out. But practice. Get a vocal coach. I don't care who you are, get a vocal coach. Take lessons from people that are better than you. And if you don't love it, get out now. Like if you can't not play music, get out. Like just run away. Even try and run away. And if you come back, then play music. Because it's hard. Like it's hard. You have to make lots of sacrifices personally to live out the dream. It's tough. Bringing it backward.